Hello, everyone. This is Backyard Musings, broadcasting live from Apple Valley. I'm Steve.
I'm Scott.
And this whole week we've been talking about what's been happening at the border and the flood of immigration, the illegal immigration. And we've asked several times, twice, we asked ourselves, what is the end state? What are the Dems trying to achieve with this open border? And last night I had an epiphany. And I spoke with Scott about it this morning, and he kind of agrees. So we're going to go over kind of like, it's almost satirical what we're going to go over today, but at the end, it's dead serious. So you want to hold on to the end. Just follow us through here. So first thing that had to happen was the Dems had to seize power. And when do you think they seized power, Scott?
Well, I would say that probably within the last 2 or 3 administrations. So Barack Obama's administration, there was a mighty change. In fact, he even campaigned on that, hope and change, right?
Right.
And
well, charismatic figure, right? And
yeah,
a whole voting block. He was able to capture a whole voting block.
Yeah, smart guy, family man, young politician, young involved in politics, really didn't have any kind of professional background other than I guess he worked at a law firm, but he looked good, smelled good, had a good line. And yeah, it just, that's when it started, because if you think about it, his DOJ was pretty involved.
His wingman.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And
Eric Gardner was his wingman.
He even came right out and said that.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be, that's not how it was arranged when founding fathers did that. So
another element that I thought of was, if you lie often enough, that lie becomes conventional wisdom. Look at the J6, the happenings on J6. It was a riot, but they've turned it into an insurrection, and they've tried to use that language. For example, a lot of criminals being locked up are minorities, so they call it mass incarceration, and that turned everything into permissible soft crime. You saw in California how the dollar value for what you steal went up before it became a misdemeanor. So a lot of smash and grabs, right?
Oh yeah. What is the limit? $950.
$950. You can steal up to that much in one go.
I mean, I can't remember last time I walked into a Walmart or any store and spent $950 and wheeled it out in a shopping cart. And these people are doing it probably multiple times a day.
The next thing you do is you need to seize that power. You have to control voting in the cities, turn inner cities into strongholds. And I think the Dems have cracked the code on making inner cities the strongholds. What do you think?
Yeah, well, George Soros has had a big involvement in that. I think of the city of Los Angeles, their district attorney. Man, that guy is, I don't know what he is practicing there. I mean, it obviously is not law, that's for sure.
Of course, you make sure that dead people still vote, and you pay them for voting, right? That's another element.
Why not?
Once you seize that power, I think next you have to crush your rivals, right? Crush all your rivals. So remember when the second election for Barack Obama, what did they do to Mitt Romney? They exposed him as a corporate raider that would go in and buy companies and split them apart. He'd add nothing. They villainized Mitt Romney. Is that right?
Even Harry Reid brought it to everybody's attention that he didn't pay any taxes, but that's
a ridiculous statement. Yeah,
it is. I mean, I'm not a big Mitt Romney fan, which we could have a discussion on that probably on another show. But what they did to him was unconscionable. It just.
Look at what they did to Trump. Trump will utterly destroy democracy. It's a smear campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're not even leaving just Trump on the chopping block. They're going after his family, which is just it's wrong. Definitely wrong.
And they also attack legislation that's good legislation, and they make it an undesirable stigma. Like they transform the Tax Cut and Jobs Act into Trump's tax scam. That's what they call it, Trump's tax scam. And that tax act created more jobs, stimulated the economy. It's
Well, what Trump did for minority groups as far as raising lowering their
Hispanics, blacks.
The employment, went up for those people. It was all positive. I mean, again, like we've mentioned before, Trump is a guy that can't be bought. He's doing it for the love of the country, and I don't know. It's adds to the scariness.
So the next, after you seize power and you crush your rivals, now you need to reign through terror, right? Fear is a good controlling and motivating factor. What have they done with the DOJ?
Oh yeah, it's all about Merrick Garland, Eric Holder from the Obama administration. Those guys are they're like henchmen. Reminds me of times back in the 40s, when there were ruling governments and militaries in Eastern Europe that were kind of run the same way. They're going after political rivals. They're going after groups, going after families. They're
domestic terror for the soccer moms who are going to the board meetings.
Yeah, you can't even open your mouth and have a dissenting opinion at a board meeting, at a school district. I mean, it's out of control.
What about using legislation to ruthlessly lawfare the opposition, like taking contempt of Congress, Steve Bannon, going after Rudy Giuliani, Michael Cohen, who eventually turned coat, and most recently now, Hunter Biden's sugar brother is going after Jonathan Turley for defamation. They're using lawfare to crush these people. They've got to spend money to defend themselves.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because normally the left doesn't go after their own, and Jonathan Turley is not a conservative by any means.
He's a Democrat.
He's a Democrat, and but he's one of the sole good guys.
Sensible.
Yeah, he is. He's got some common sense about him, and he's educated, and he's a constitutional scholar, and so it's not very often that they go after their own. But yeah, it's interesting that they're targeting him. It's the same way with Alan Dershowitz. He's
a Democrat too.
Yeah, he's a Democrat. I mean, he's a big Clinton guy, and they've gone after him big time, especially after he was on the Trump defense team.
And they'll use legislation to as a way to unmask their opponents through the foreign spying on foreign people, and then they'll unmask someone. And then they'll destroy him, like Lieutenant General Flynn. I mean, they pretty much destroyed him almost completely.
They did, financially and professionally. Yeah, it's a sad deal. From what I could tell, he was a good guy. I mean, up until the point where they started attacking him, he started working for the Trump administration. He had a stellar record, militarily and in national security field. So, what a patriot that just got slammed, basically, just slammed.
And so they'll call riots with looting and burning businesses. They'll call them mostly peaceful protests, but the J6 they call an insurrection. And the J6 didn't burn anything down, not at all.
Yeah, you know what? I love the way they throw that word insurrection around, because as far as I know, up until this point, nobody has been charged with insurrection.
Right.
A lot of accusation, but nobody's been charged. But there are a lot of people in jail that have been in jail since January 6th, 2021, that are either waiting for trial or have been tried. And that's another thing that's wrong. You hardly hear about those people anymore. But it's the after a while, evil becomes good and good becomes evil. And that's what we're seeing now. A lot of opposition in all things.
Yeah, and about fear, they turned a perfect conversation between two heads of state into an impeachable offense. Then they brag that they did the same thing and got away with it, with Biden saying, "I'm not going to give you the money until you fire the prosecutor."
Yeah,
it's like they turned it on its head to create fear, reign with fear.
Right.
Okay, so you seize power, you crush your rivals, you reign with fear. Now you need to control the truth, right? You have to set the narrative and control it. truth over facts, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So instead of
No, lots of
illegal
space.
aliens, they're irregular. It's irregular migration, right?
You know,
Setting the narrative.
and we've talked about that illegal immigration coming across the border. You know, there are probably some good people, but you know, that's one of the downsides of living in a free society like we do, is that you're not out there unless you're doing something blatantly wrong all the time. You're probably going to go below the radar, and that's what's happening. These people are, like you say, the term you use, the gotaways. If they're coming across the border and not doing anything wrong, then they're probably going to be able to survive quite a while without being exposed. It's the ones that do something wrong. But how often do we hear about that? We don't. So, but yeah,
Well, we see in the news when they kill someone. He's an illegal alien. And he killed someone. That's when we hear about it.
Right, cause some havoc. But you know, they could be out there a long time. I mean, look how long the people that were the masterminds of 9/11 were in the country. You know.
So you spin the truth into what you want it to be. Like Corinne Jean-Pierre Binder, she's moved the goalposts on. First, it was Biden didn't talk to his son's business partners. Now Biden didn't have anything to do with business with Hunter's business partners. They moved the goalpost. Right.
Yeah. Well, between what's coming from the pulpit, from the press secretary for the president of the United States, and the way that the media is controlled by the left, that goes back to 30s and 40s Eastern Germany. You know, scary times.
You control a media mob to cover for you and attack for you. So we know how the media mob is covering. They just don't bring up serious issues that need to be looked at. But I think it was yesterday, there was a reporter talking to Binder, asking her, when is the president going to activate the Texas National Guard and end this standoff? You got the media mob actually suggesting how Biden can grab more power.
Yeah, they're like another branch of the executive branch. And it's when was the last time you had a good interview given by MSNBC or CNN or ABC to someone on the right, or specifically President Trump? But yet,
I can't remember.
But yet, when you see the members of the left being interviewed by them, it's like going to a softball game. They're just, you know,
softballs.
They're just lobbing them in there, and they are able to hit home runs. And you know, again, what people hear, if you hear it enough over and over and over again, you tend to believe it.
You just hear it over and over, you believe it. How about using private companies to censor speech? The government can't censor speech, but they can use private companies like Twitter or Facebook or Amazon, Instagram to censor people under the guise of misinformation and disinformation.
No, it's a real thing. And again, it goes back to what you listen to. You know, people should ask more questions and be more alert and attentive to what they're hearing, and check it out. You know, we need to check it out. And what was that Reagan used to say? Trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
You know, we all need to do more of that.
Yeah, and also the left creates neologisms that victimize groups. It's taking a few words, putting them together to make a new word that doesn't make any sense, like mass incarceration. What is that? Just because crime doesn't care what color you are, you commit the crime. And also transgender. How do you transcend gender? It's just a made up. I just don't get it.
Right.
So they create these words to set the narrative. And then when officials ban lewd and suggestive books from elementaries, like in Florida, they call it "Don't Say Gay," just to stigmatize it. That's setting the narrative and controlling the truth.
Absolutely, and that happens every day with our media and the left. I don't mean to pick on them, but it's pretty blatant. Just like this.
Watching this unfold. We're watching it unfold.
Yeah, exactly. It just, I don't know. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that vote and pay attention to things that aren't really relevant. Almost like when you were voting for a class president or an ASB president in your high school. It's usually going to your buddy, and buddies at the end, they don't really help you when it comes to economy, when it comes to rights.
They just help each other.
We're losing control.
All right, so you seize power, right? You crush your rivals, you reign through terror, you control the truth, right? Next thing, you create a new society, transformation, right? Take a completely marginalized sector of persons and transform them into a crusade movement like same-sex marriages. That's how it started out, same-sex marriages in the military, and then refuse to define a woman. I need context, Senator. Unisex bathrooms, tampons in boys' bathrooms, involve children in drag shows. That's trying to create a new society.
It's all off the charts. I mean, if this had happened 20 years ago, people would be revolting. And why it's happening now, I don't know. Why people are just allowing it to happen and rolling over. It just doesn't make sense.
Transformation. Even taking down the statues, renaming historic posts like Fort Bragg was named to Fort Liberty, or the other Fort Hood was named something else I can't remember, Cardozo, I think, or Cardona. Just changing the history. And what about this? Transforming that society, give them what they want, give them money. Taxing could ruin your reelection. Remember the old George H. Bush?
Yeah.
He said no new taxes, and he taxed and he got voted out. But now it gets you elected. That's what Biden said he's going to tax, and he got elected.
Yeah, there's more and more people that are looking for the handout, and the instead of a hand up, they want a handout, and it's it's a way to like you say, create a new society. People are looking for
handouts,
ways to not work and have a little money in their pocket. And it's
you could buy votes by student loan forgiveness, right? Just buy the vote.
Well,
pay people
to stay at home from work.
Exactly. Topple monument, change the names of military bases. Okay, so you seize power, you've crushed your rivals, you've reigned through fear, you control the truth, right? And then you created a new society. Now, how do you rule forever?
You're in power. You're in power until there's some type of a change. And
right. And it's a little bit more difficult keeping the power than seizing it. But now we've been talking about this. Open borders to allow millions of migrants into the U.S., right? Bring them in. We'll snatch you out of the river and bring you in and take you somewhere else into the interior, right? Then you have taxpayers to pay for health care for illegal immigrants, right? Universal free Medicare, right?
Student loan debt.
What?
Forgive student loan debt.
Yeah, forgive student loan debt. Yeah. Offer free junior college tuition, right? And then impoverish the nation through a war on energy. When you have a war on energy makes everything flow. Gasoline, airfare, trucking over the road, getting goods to where they need to go. And if there's a war on that and you have to pay higher for energy, it just raises all the prices.
Which in turn is another reason for government handouts to help people out. And if
create a welfare state.
Yep, a welfare state. Yep, transfer of wealth.
Mail-in ballots, ballot harvesting. Identify key battleground counties and full out blitz them to keep the vote. A deep state. Create and incentivize the deep state.
Yeah.
I tell you, this is what we figured out. It was an epiphany to me. They want to transform the United States so they can stay in power, and they're doing this majorly through bringing the illegal immigration in.
Yeah, well, and I hate to say it, but most of those people are coming across expecting to be on the dole. They're expecting to have some help. So that's the beginning of it, and it's going to just happen over time. It's going to evolve into that, where eventually nobody's going to own anything. It'll be too expensive to own anything. You'll have to be a renter.
Elite corporations buy up the land.
you'll be dependent on a corporation or a landlord, and yeah, that's just, I mean, they're targeting the middle and upper middle class people.
We've
right?
been watching this all unfold in one way or another since 2007, and it's just seemed to gain steam after they lost power through Trump. It was a full-out blitz to get that power back, and they've got it. And I think it's going to be hard to wrench it out of their hands. I think it's going to be hard.
It is going to be hard, and I don't know if we're really going to get a whole lot of help from the folks on the right that are in political.
We're going to have to save the nation. It's men and women with Christian values are going to have to save the Constitution. It'll be hanging by a thread.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, folks. Thank you for listening to us. We went a little bit long, 20 minutes, but we think it was important to share with you that Endstate and how they gained the power. If you like what you saw, click subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies, watch the show. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you later.
Have a good day. Thank you.